And welcome back to another Econ Podcast with Mr. Hagan. On this Econ Podcast, we're going to talk about decreasing cost industries, and we're going to talk about these decreasing cost industries inside of the pure competition model. So in the pure competition model, we're going to have the market, which is going to be represented by the graph here on the left-hand side, and we're going to do the market for carrots. So we're going to have the quantity of carrots, price of carrots, equilibrium price over here, equilibrium quantity, a demand curve, a supply curve. So the market for carrots is all right here at equilibrium. And then on the right-hand graph, we're going to have a representative firm. Now remember, in pure competition, there's going to be many, many companies all producing the exact same good, the exact same, in this case, carrots. And for this representative firm, it's going to be Katie's Carrots is going to be the representative firm. And she's going to be producing right here at equilibrium, where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost, and where she's producing at a zero economic profit. And now we're going to allow something to change in the market. So we're going to come over here and say there's going to be a real world event that's going to happen. And the real world event is going to be an increase in the price of broccoli. Increase in the price of broccoli. Now, if the price of broccoli goes up, what's going to happen in the carrot market? Well, when the price of broccoli goes up, that means people are going to buy less broccoli than they did before. And instead, for their dinner, instead of buying broccoli, they're now going to go buy a different vegetable, let's say carrots. So this is going to be a change in the price of related goods substitutes, because I'm arguing that broccoli and carrots are substitutes for each other. So the price of broccoli goes up, people go buy carrots instead. So when they go buy carrots instead, that's going to cause the demand curve for carrots to shift to the right. The demand curve for carrots is going to shift to the right. So over here, the demand curve for carrots is going to shift to the right. Now, what happens in the market when the demand curve shifts to the right? I mean, this is going to be basic supply and demand stuff. You could go back and watch my supply and demand video playlist. But when the demand curve shifts to the right, that's going to cause the price of carrots to go up to P2. It's going to cause the quantity of carrots in the market to increase to Q2. And so down here, we're going to say in the carrot market, what happened? There was an increased price, increased quantity. That's what happened in the market. But we also now have to look at what happens to the individual firm. So we bring this over, this P2. Remember, the firm is a price taker, so they're going to have to charge whatever this new price is. They're going to charge whatever that new price is. And remember, that new price is also going to be the demand curve, and it's going to be the marginal revenue curve, and it's going to be the it's going to be the average revenue curve. It's going to be all those things at once. Okay? Price, demand, marginal revenue, and average revenue. So where's the firm going to produce? Well, they're going to produce where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. That's going to be the point of profit maximization for the firm, assuming that the firm's profit maximizing. So they're going to produce there at Q2. And this firm is now operating at an economic profit. Where would I find that? Well, the economic profit is going to be right here. They're going to produce right here. And this is going to be the price or the average revenue. Come down to the average total cost and come across. And that would give you, that box right there would give you, this is going to be the economic profit for Kate's Carrots. So Kate's Carrots is now producing an economic profit. Now, I'm just going to remove that just because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in this graph, and I just don't want to get too confusing. But I just want you to remember that economic profit is there. Okay, that economic profit is in there. So if the firm is operating an economic profit, we would come down here and we say that's going to be the new real world event. The firm is enjoying economic profits. If they're enjoying economic profits, then new firms are going to enter the industry. So that's going to be a change in the number of suppliers. New firms are going to enter the industry. Why? Because an economic profit means that the carrots companies are beating their next best opportunity. They're making more money than companies that are producing other things. And so some of those companies that are producing other vegetables, they're going to come into the carrot market, and that's going to shift the supply curve to the right. That's going to shift supply curve to the right. Now, what makes this a decrease in the cost industry is we're going to assume this. What if the carrot industry enjoys economies of scale? Economies of scale just means that when they increase production, it's actually going to lower their costs. It's actually going to decrease their costs as they expand production. Oh, by the way, let me just pause on that thought for a moment. We never recorded down here when the increase in the production by the individual firm. I just didn't write that down here. Sorry about that. So let's just add that. So when the demand curve shifted to the right, we got an increase in the price in the market, increased quantity in the market, increased quantity in production of the individual firm. That caused economic profit, which attracted new suppliers. That caused the supply curve to shift to the right. And now what we're arguing is when that supply curve shifts to the right, that because the carrot industry enjoys economies of scale, when they increase production, their average total costs actually decline. There's actually a decrease in the average total cost. The average total costs actually decrease as a result of increasing production because of the enjoyment of economies of scale. And so as a result of that, the supply curve is going to shift to the right as new firms enter the industry until all of those economic profits go to zero. Well, where's that going to happen? Well, that happens right here when the new price gets low enough that the average revenue will exactly equal the new average total cost. So, okay, that all sounds very confusing. Where's that happen? So here's the increase in the supply curve. The supply curve is shifting out to the right. Let me draw that again. That supply curve is going to shift out to the right. I just want to get that a little straighter. That supply curve is going to shift to the right. And it's going to shift to the right until the individual firms are producing back at a zero economic profit. And why is that? Because if they still enjoy an economic profit, more firms are going to keep entering the industry until economic profits go to zero. So, okay, we're going to have a new price as the supply curve shifts to the right. Prices are going to get bid down to P2. Quantity is going to continue to increase to Q3. Sorry, this was P3 up here. Sorry about that. Let's rewrite that. That's going to be P3 over here. P2 was all the way up here. And so the price is going to get bid down to P3. Quantity is going to rise to Q3. And then we bring that price over to the individual firm. Here's my P3. The firm is a price taker. So they're going to now have to charge this new price in the marketplace. And at that new price, that will intersect the average total cost at its lowest point. So the firm will produce right here where there's zero economic profits, where they're back to maximizing profits at zero economic profits. And so their production goes down to Q3. So when the production goes down to Q3, all right, let's record what happens for the market as a whole. And let's just think about what happened here. Because the cost came down, that means that as the firms are enjoying economic profits at these lower costs, more firms are going to enter the industry. That shifted the supply curve to the right until the price goes down beyond where it was before. It was at P1. Now the price is going to go all the way down here to P3. Why? Because that's where the average revenue or the price will now equal that lower average total cost. That's where economic profits will go back to zero and no new firms will enter the industry. So what happened here by the end? What happened here is that we got, from beginning to end, we got a decrease in the price of carrots. Yes, originally the price went up. It went up from P1 to P2, but now it came back down to P3, and the price finished lower than where it started. What about the quantity in the industry? Well, the total quantity of carrots in the market produced went up. It went up from Q1 to Q2 and now to Q3. All right, what happened for the individual firm? Well, the individual firm production originally went up from Q1 to Q2, and now it's going to decline all the way back down to Q3. So we get a decrease in quantity for the individual firm. Now, one question is, how in the world is it possible that we got an increase? How's this possible down here that we got an increased output in the market if all the individual firms are actually producing less? And the answer is because there are so many new firms that have entered the industry. Okay, so every firm's actually producing less than they were before, but there's so many more firms that total production actually went up. All right, we still need to find the long run supply curve. Where's that going to be? Well, we go P1, Q1. That's going to be right here. That was the original equilibrium. The new market equilibrium at the end is P3, Q3. That's right here. Draw our long run supply curve through those 2 points. And let me just make that a little bigger. There's going to be my new long run supply curve. It's going to look like that. That's going to be my new long run supply curve, and something very weird is happening here, and that is that my long run market supply curve is actually sloping down. It's actually sloping down, okay? At a lower price, the quantity produced in the market is actually higher, and that's what makes it a decreasing cost industry. Why? Because costs of production have gone down due to economies of scale. So let's just sum that up real fast. Increased price of broccoli causes people to want to buy more carrots. That caused demand for carrots to shift to the right. That caused the price to get bid up from P1 to P2. That attracted new firms into the industry because of the economic profits now being earned by the carrot companies. Because of economies of scale, as new firms entered the industry, right here, increasing supply, that also caused the cost of production to go down, which allowed the price to then get bid all the way down to P3 below where the original price was. And so from beginning to end, we're going to end up with a lower price, a higher quantity in the market, and a decrease in production by each individual firm with a long run downward sloping supply curve. Decreasing cost industry. Why? Because average total cost shifted down, and because the long run supply curve in the market is downward sloping. Weird stuff happening there. That's called a decreasing cost industry. All right. Thanks for joining me. This has been Mr. Hagan on another Econ podcast, and we'll see you on the next Econ podcast.